Politics, unfortunately, is often theater.
I don't see this as theater as you describe, Senator Cruz. I see this as the real world. I sit in a position on this committee where I often follow Senator Cruz, and I often have to throw out my entire plan for what I was going to say because of what he said. But I have never had an experience quite like this one. I could choose to start by taking on his interpretation of history because of the fact that the only other time that we have had a justice die this close to an election was when Abraham Lincoln, a wise, wise leader, was president. What did he do? He waited until after the election. What is unique, in your words, Senator Cruz, about this situation? People are voting right now. Democracy is happening right now. And we in this room are supposed to be stewards of this democracy. And to have the chairman of this committee lead this discussion on this solemn day when tomorrow the first woman in the history of the nation will lie in state and raise the fact that, yes, this may end up in court. And then to hear you, Senator Cruz, talk about how this because of some war game that you're talking about, that I've never even heard about, that this can end up in court. Well, guess what? I will not concede that this is going to end up in court. You know why? Because the people are voting in droves right now. They are voting all over this country because President Trump is behind in states, in red states, that no one even thought he could be behind in. Why? Because the people of this country are fighting back because they know what's on the line. I am not going to give up on this democracy despite these false lies about the Democratic candidate for president. It is President Trump who chose to clear out peaceful protesters and wave a Bible in front of a church. It is President Trump who, after Charlottesville, said there are two sides. Well, there's not two sides when one side is the Ku Klux Klan. It is President Trump who's put out there that military and soldiers should be at the voting places in a pure attempt to suppress the vote. So don't go telling the people of this committee who know better who is the divisive person, who is the one that has been inciting violence in this election. And even if they don't believe us in this room, the American people have seen through it. That's why just today you saw nearly 500 military leaders join together, former military leaders, and civilian national security leaders, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, to say that they did not support this president because they were afraid of what was happening to our country and our democracy. So this hearing that we are about to have is about that very democracy. And so I don't think people really care about the fights we've had about this before. I think we missed a really important ingredient in what I've been hearing my colleagues say from across the aisle, and that is people are voting right now. They are voting on health care right now. The fact that we have a court case out of Texas that is coming up for oral argument on November 10th, in which, yes, pre-existing conditions are on the line because the argument was made that the whole Affordable Care Act should be thrown out. You cannot just fix that when you haven't been able to even take up the HEROES Act to do something about the pandemic. Yet, in fact, we see that we've got time to ram through a Supreme Court hearing in 2 weeks instead of spending those 2 weeks to actually take up the HEROES Act and help the people of this country. What else is on the line? Well, civil rights is on the line. When you look at the decisions and all the money that has flowed into our politics from the outside as a result of this current court's decision that is dominated by nominees put forward by Republican presidents. Women's rights, oh yeah, they are on the line. And as those fires were blazing on the west coast of our country, even the right to regulate our environment and do something to protect our air and water, that is on the line. So this hearing will not be divorced from what is happening right now because this president has put it right in the middle of a political campaign. That's his choice, not our choice. So I don't see this as theater, as you described, Senator Cruz. I see this as the real world. I see this deeply personally because I know that we have a president in place that knew that this virus was deadly. He knew that it was airborne, and yet my family, we were just trying to clean off the surfaces all the time and wash our hands, and then my husband ends up in the hospital with COVID on oxygen because this president didn't share with us the information he had at the time. All of that is going to be on the line. So we will look at this nominee, and we will look carefully at this nominee. That is our job, but we cannot get away from the fact that the process that puts her before us will be one that is not respecting the democracy that we are supposed to cherish. I have listened to this for too long, and I think the American people see through this raw use of political power. That is why they're voting in droves. So if you think you can get away from this just by trying to get this nominee through and no one's going to notice what she stands for or what her views are and how that's going to play into decisions that are made that affect people's lives, they already know. They're voting now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The movie Taken, that's literally what was in my head as sex trafficking. And I'm sure those are very real situations that do happen. But there's also this type of sex trafficking that none of us would have ever imagined. Zephaniah is a very beautiful young lady. She's outgoing, she's full of laughter, full of joy. She loves sports. And it was in May of her 16th year. We were introduced to Philip. This is the man that changed our world forever. We began to see different things and her changing rapidly. She became withdrawn. Her whole demeanor changed. Her actual body changed. She became thinner, dark circles, not our child.
Unless you've been involved with someone who's being sex trafficked, you don't know what to look for.
She was gone for approximately like 3 days, just gone. And it continued that way. Gone for a day, come home, leave for a day, come home. She'd leave and she would say, "Mom, please lock the door. I need you to set the alarm." What? This is alarming to me. My kid is telling me to be safe, to lock the doors. And then the day of the situation, that evening, she was late. She came home and watched TV with me, cried. I asked her what's wrong. She says that Philip, he was leaving town. My daughter didn't plan this. My daughter, Zephaniah is 16. They went there to have sex with a child. They didn't go there to have sex with a grown woman. These were grown men with my baby. These were grown men that were taking advantage of my child. She is innocent of this. She didn't pull the trigger. She didn't steal anything. She was there for one purpose by the person that set this appointment up with two men. There's 10-day hearings that she goes before judge, and they basically decide whether she can come home or not, awaiting trial. And every time we've been denied. We were told from the very beginning that she would never come home due to the charges and the circumstance. You think about that moment every day and throughout the months, and then literally when it happens, it just doesn't feel real. She said, "Mom, I'm going to be kissing and hugging you a lot. I missed you." And
there'll be some surprise ones here and there.
yeah, so we've enjoyed those moments. At this point, we're preparing for trial, and that's going to be a benefit to her to have her family right next to her while she's getting ready to face the biggest moment of her life. I call it parental instincts, mom instincts, what have you, when you're listening to these public defenders and things like that, and you're going, but that's not right. I'm not a lawyer, but that's not right.
A lot of times people think of this very stereotypical understanding of sex trafficking where the victim is being bound and tied and gagged and, kind of just forced to have sex from that perspective. But what's important to note is that a person can be placed in this sense of entrapment due to duress and coercion, whether it's physical threats to the actual victim or physical threats to someone that the victim loves.
Zephaniah was very young and very gullible. She believed everything that Philip would tell her and was terrified. She was scared for us.
As a victim, they don't see her that way, and I think the justice system in Texas doesn't recognize sex trafficked victims. If you're there in the midst of a crime, you are equally guilty, even though you didn't pull the trigger.
It's only a couple of years ago that she was a softball playing student, and now she's been victimized and re-victimized. Until we galvanize and we make our public officials know that we are not going to stand for it anymore, it's going to go on.
My sister and myself, we've had random people we don't even know, contacting us saying, "We're praying for you, we're supporting you, we're here for her." We believe in sharing her story, sharing everything. Zephaniah is a child. no matter what no one says, no matter if they say they were, close in age, she was a child. She did not deserve this. Love doesn't force you to do things that you don't want to do.
Currently, I'm ready for her to graduate high school. That's a big goal right now, is to be able for her to graduate, for her to be able to apply to any college and get accepted, and to live a normal life after this. The sky's the limit for her, and that's what we want for her. We want her to just live a complete full life.
Brian, I'm just going to stop you there. These are remarkable reporters from the New York Times who went through 20 years of documents. It is not okay for you to accuse them with no facts of coordinating with the Democratic Party.
Poppy,
Please stop doing that, or this interview will end. The president said last night that the New York Times reporting is completely false. So what is true? Brian, how much did the president pay in federal income tax in 2016 and 2017?
The New York Times has reported basically the same thing 4 years ago on the eve of a debate. The Democrats had ads up and running within, minutes of this coming out, which means it's probably a coordinated political smear.
Yeah.
But the president has paid lots of taxes. But the point is that why would anybody pay more than they owe? He wants everybody to have low taxes. That's why he cut taxes. But an interesting question would be, where are the taxes that Hunter Biden paid on his $3.5 million from Russia?
So much
what about his $1 billion from Moscow?
Brian, I'm so glad we have you, and we got lots of time, so we don't have to talk over each other. But you speak for the president, so we're going to stick on that topic. I'm talking about federal income taxes, and in the absence of the president releasing them, which is unprecedented for modern presidents, I'm going to go with the New York Times reporting because there's no reason not to believe it. Okay, so going with their detailed reporting that is very different. I'm just going to finish the question. It's very different than 4 years ago. This is new reporting. In the absence of that, what is true? How much federal income tax did the president pay in 2016 and 2017? That's all I'm looking for is a number.
The president's attorney stated it was millions of dollars in taxes, but he didn't even have a chance to review. He didn't even have a chance to review the documents that the New York Times is basing it on.
The president's tax attorney has the president's
political
documents.
Smear from 4 years ago.
The president's tax attorney has
but they're
his federal
reporting
records
based on what they have, and they wouldn't share it. So how can you dispute something they wouldn't share? It's the president's private documents.
Here's why it matters. Because federal income taxes pay for things like the military that the president has said he so strongly supports. It pays the salary of Secret Service members that secure him every single day. It pays for roads, bridges, I could go on. And the average American in 2017, Brian, paid $12,199 in federal income taxes. Why does the president believe that he owes 16 times less?
The president and his attorney have stated he paid millions of dollars in taxes.
They have not stated.
And
I'm talking about federal income
05
taxes.
To 07,
you are very
right.
You
worked taxes.
With folks from the Treasury. You know there's a difference.
So are you, Poppy, and that's why you should be asking. Where is the where are the taxes on Hunter's $3.5 million from Russia? Where are the taxes on his $1 billion from China? The president's paid tens of millions of dollars in taxes.
The president's spokesman about someone who is not germane to this conversation, who is not running for president.
Have you ever asked them? Have you ever done a segment on them?
Brian, please do our viewers the service of answering my questions about the man you work for, because I asked the questions, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm going to keep asking them. In 2017, Brian, in 2017, according to all of these documents, it appears the president paid more in taxes to Panama, India, and the Philippines than he did to Uncle Sam. How is that America first?
Poppy, the documents the New York Times used, they wouldn't even show them to anybody so that they could be verified or disputed. The president's attorney stated he's paid tens of millions of dollars in taxes. We know this. We know that he donates his salary to the government even when he doesn't even have to. That's $1.5 million in taxes he didn't even have to pay. But this is a story that it's another version of it from 4 years ago on the eve of a debate, coordinated with the Democrats as a political hit.
Okay, Brian, I'm just going to stop you there. These are remarkable reporters from the New York Times who went through 20 years of documents. It is not okay for you to accuse them with no facts of coordinating with the Democratic Party.
Poppy,
Please stop doing that or this interview will end. Brian, stop attacking the press. I have not seen you do that largely before. Stop doing that. I'm asking you direct questions. You could put the entire thing to bed if the president would release the records and show the American people what he says is true. Why will he not do that?
So the press can attack him, but he can't defend himself? That is just not a fair position to take.
The president is welcome to come on this show and defend himself. I hope he joins us. The easiest defense would be for him to lay out his records as every modern president has done since the 1970s.
That was a shit show.
That was a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck.
Clearly, this debate was an embarrassment for the United States of America.
What a dark event we have just witnessed. The tip of the hat to Cormac McCarthy when we say, if that wasn't a mess, it'll do till the mess gets here.
That was the worst debate I have ever seen. In fact, it wasn't even a debate. It was a disgrace.
It was a complete disaster on all fronts. The whole thing was disgraceful.
That was the worst presidential debate I have ever seen.
And this felt like an assault. It felt like an assault on our census. It felt like an assault on our presidential campaign process. It felt like another assault on our politics, because that's what it was.
There's something beyond fact-checking that needs to happen here. This is the sort of thing that shouldn't happen. This sort of debate shouldn't happen in a democracy.
Chris Wallace did not act as a moderator. Donald Trump did not act as a debater. Donald Trump was the abuser, and Chris Wallace was among the abused.
You cannot have watched that debate, I would think, and be proud of our president.
We should be really clear here. This is not both sides type of situation. There was one party on that stage interrupting, yelling over the moderator.
This took it too far, even for Donald Trump.
And he was rude. He didn't abide by any standards of decorum or decency. It was really, frankly, embarrassing.
I don't think we've ever seen a president of the United States completely lacking in shame. I mean, just shameless and obesely immoral.
He did come out hot.
But it's not even funny. I mean, are you actually proud of the president of the United States?
I think the president overplayed his hand tonight.
Tonight, he took the presidency and the office of the presidency to a new low. He is so full of grievance that he can't get past himself.
He is not participating in a re-election campaign. He is arguing that he should stay in office and the election should be negated. He treated the debate that way, with a monstrous, just cavalcade of increasingly wild and obscene lies.
We had an avalanche of lying from President Trump. Almost every single thing he said during that concluding section of the debate was inaccurate.
This behavior is taking place in pursuit of the job we used to refer to as leader of the free world.
A monstrous, unintelligible display of logorrhea, which has absolutely nothing to do with civic discourse, with debate, or even with the integrity of the contest they're about to approach.
The president does not think he's going to win this election, and he wants to bring the rest of us down with him.
I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if this is the last presidential debate between the president of the United States and the former vice president of the United States.
The American people lost tonight, because that was horrific.
China has started an investigation into the Biden. We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
What she did is criminal with the emails.
They're considered official statements by the President of the United States.
You know that Kim Jong-un is a great golfer. You know that, right? I'm an extremely stable genius. Okay. I don't like having thousands of people around when you don't need them. It looks like we'll be at about a 60,000 mark, which is 40,000 less than the lowest number thought of. We have Monday night football type ratings. I'm taking it. Hydroxychloroquine. Right now, yeah. Injection inside or almost a cleaning. I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created, I tell you that. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay. They weren't laughing at me. They were laughing with me. We had fun. How do you stop these people? You can't. There's no... I want to do it faster. I could do the wall over a longer period of time. I didn't need to do this, but I'd rather do it much faster. Obviously, I never said this and I never meant they're going to write out a check. This is more work than in my previous life. I thought it would be easier.
And God bless the United States. Thank you very much. Thank you.